Jump right in with Tesla. We have a lot of fans from this channel and from our second channel. Our second channel is actually all Tesla content. And also, given that your son works at Tesla, what's your take on the company and the equity price? It's worth more than all of the other auto companies right now. The stock has had a huge run this year. So what's your outlook for the company?
I was not a Tesla fan just a year and a bit ago. Last July, which is just over a year ago, I was sitting at the dining room table with my son, and he had just finished his first internship there. And it was on one of the news network channels we were both watching, and he'd just been downgraded, and the stock went down to about $238. This is pre-split. And my son said to me, Trevor's his name, "Look, Dad, you should buy some of this. I don't have any money, but you do." I said, "I would never buy this. It's trading at a ridiculous valuation." And he said, "You don't get it. It's not a car company at all. It's a data company. And what it does is sends cars out to drive and increase the resolution of its automated database every day. Every car is reporting back to headquarters, making the resolution of the data set better and better and better. And when autonomous driving comes, the company that's going to win is going to have the best resolution of data." That made a lot of sense to me. I mean, it was a different way of looking at it, and certainly those that have looked at it that way have done well. So I bought the stock then, just holding my nose at the value proposition because it was trading at a ridiculous PE then. And it has been the singularly best performing stock in this time frame. Now, I have a investment philosophy that does not allow any stock to become more than 5% of my portfolio. So I've been consistently selling Tesla down to 5%, sometimes twice a week. I mean, it's had such a stratospheric rise. But I've learned a little bit about how they work with their engineers, obviously with my son's experience there. There's no company like Tesla in terms of how it deals with bringing teams together. Very entrepreneurial. They take a very long time to bring in their interns or their full-term engineers. They're classic hire slowly, fire quickly. The teams are extraordinary. And for some reason, and I get it, people want to work for Elon Musk, but he doesn't want it to become a bureaucracy, clearly. He keeps the teams lean and mean. And even if you start as a junior, as my son did as an intern, you have say in what your mandate is. So you're not some guy in the back that no one's listening to because they don't bother hiring people like that. So it's an extraordinary company. And as a result, those who have owned the stock have been well rewarded.
And just out of curiosity, does he, what did he major in when he went to school? And does he work in software or manufacturing right now?
Well, he's an electrical engineer and everything is software. I mean, that's basically, you know, he worries about power, battery, integration, all kinds of stuff. I mean, I used to think I could keep up with him, but he's so far past that now. You know, when you get the mindset of engineers that are trying to change the world, because that's what he's into. He's saying, I don't know why we burn hydrocarbons at all. It's crazy. It's a very inefficient way. And so, you know, he's on board with that mandate, and that's the kind of person that Tesla attracts.
So Kevin O'Leary gives us some great insight into the culture at Tesla. Since his son works there and he's an investor in the company, I think that Kevin really understands how important culture is, and this stems from the founder, in this case Elon Musk. Everyone at the company is working towards a common goal. They're all on the same page and passionate about the company's mission, which makes Tesla a giant team, very much like a startup, despite having around 60,000 employees. And Kevin O'Leary doesn't even mention earnings per share or financial metrics. He seems to be focused on the qualitative values at Tesla. There's actually a good quote from Steve Jobs where he calls Apple the world's largest startup, and Tesla seems to share similar characteristics. One example is that it doesn't seem like people have fixed jobs or positions at Tesla, and by that I mean that if something needs to get done, people aren't going to say like, oh, that's not part of my job description. And that's similar to a startup. Because startups are small, sometimes people have to take on multiple roles, and you see that at Tesla. I was even slightly surprised at how much the CFO, Zachary Kirkhorn, was involved with Tesla's expanding insurance business that we discussed in our previous video. But Kevin O'Leary says that Tesla hires slowly and fires quickly, and also if you're an intern, you still have the ability to contribute just as much as anyone else to the company. And I think that's something that goes in line with what Elon Musk has said before, which is that the best ideas should win. And it doesn't matter where they come from, that's the type of culture they're looking for. And during Battery Day, you heard that Elon Musk and Drew Baglino saying that you assume that everything at Tesla is always wrong, and how can we do it better? And so I really like that about Tesla, that they're always hiring great people and they're constantly trying to improve the way they do things, which I think is the key for long-term innovation. The other thing that Kevin O'Leary said was that he called Tesla a data company, which is always trying to increase the resolution of their automated database, he says. He probably meant to say autonomous database. This is referring to Tesla's self-driving autonomous strategy, and the more miles that are driven, Tesla is learning about as many edge cases as they can to try and teach the vehicle how to drive. I would say that Tesla's autonomous database is the set of all of the driving data videos and content like telemetrics and logs that they have. And then they run the data through the machine learning algorithms to train their system and create an AI for the car. But wherever the new algorithm, which isn't perfect, comes across a real-life scenario that it hasn't seen before, the AI averages or estimates based on all the data that it's seen what to do in that situation. So you can think of it like a low-resolution image with blurry pixels. And as more data comes in from people driving and sending that data back to Tesla, they can sort of continue to fill in those gaps and increase the resolution, which is basically correctly handling more and more situations for self-driving. So I thought that the way Kevin O'Leary spoke about this was from an interesting perspective.
So is Tesla, when we look at all the car companies combined, you said you were very excited about the autonomy part of it. Is that something that you look at valuing somewhat separately from the car company itself? Like this, if this happens, I've seen projections that this is a $150 billion market 2030. Is this something you're looking at very closely?
Well, here's what I think is valued into the stock, rightly or wrongly. It is an indirect way to own SpaceX, and the technologies that are being developed there, some people perceive find their way into the engineering designs of Tesla automobiles. I mean, that may or may not be true. Certainly the heads-up displays and some of the things I saw, in the recent launch looked very close to me, to what my Tesla looks like. And so I'm thinking there is some bleed between those two. Clearly Tesla is ahead on battery technology, and as a result, they're just going to win that game. And frankly, for a company that doesn't spend any advertising dollars, and here's an example, we're talking about it right now, that is a huge advantage in the automotive business. Everybody else is spending billions of dollars advertising their Me Too cars and getting no market share. If I buy a new car, it's going to be a Tesla. I'm not going to buy another electric car. They own that market. And because I already have one, I know how it works. And the fact that it upgrades itself every couple of days, that really impresses me. I'm getting better and better and better resolution on my own driving on this car, just because headquarters keeps upgrading the software. It's a unique model. I mean, look, I was a skeptic. I am no longer a skeptic. When the data changes, I change.
Kevin O'Leary starts by saying that investing in Tesla is an indirect way of investing in SpaceX. Of course, the companies are completely separate, but he says that he sees similarities between the products of these two companies, even though they aren't really related, but there does appear to be some overlap. And I do find it interesting that SpaceX does seem to give Tesla even more credibility, because it's like, well, if Elon Musk can send rockets into space, then a car must be built like a rocket ship as well. And in some ways it is. Elon has said before that he and their materials person are the overlapping employees at both companies, and there have also been cases of collaboration between SpaceX and Tesla. A few years ago, Elon Musk mentioned that SpaceX technology helped Tesla save 8 hours per vehicle by being able to look through the cars. Also, we've heard car specialist Sandy Munro comment on the circuit boards that Tesla produces for their chips in the vehicles, and he says that you don't normally find those in cars, you find them in aircraft. So perhaps SpaceX employees helped because there's a lot of aerospace engineers working at SpaceX, and maybe Tesla has a few of their own. Finally, Kevin comments on Tesla being ahead in battery tech, not spending any money or hardly any money on advertising, and he praises Tesla's over-the-air software updates, saying that in his mind, they've basically won this market or won over his business at this point because he's so pleased with and familiar with the car and the brand, and the vehicle continues to update itself. He says everyone else is spending billions advertising their Me Too cars and gaining no market share. Those are some pretty harsh words for the industry. And the last thing he says was that he was a skeptic, but when the data changes, he changes his mind. And I think that the data has to do with Tesla's growing market share in the car space. They're gaining quite the following, and there's huge demand for their products that can't be ignored. And so Tesla is proving their model and solidifying their presence in the space, and people want the best technology, which is now synonymous with Tesla. And for Kevin O'Leary to be a proponent of Tesla is quite a strong statement coming from someone who doesn't talk BS and is a straight shooter. So I think this is a strong endorsement for the company.